Hi, in today's video, we're going to talk about turning first-time patients into lifelong fans so that you can build the private practice of your dreams. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel so that you can get notifications of future content. Hi, everybody. Today, we're going to talk about how to turn your first-time patients into lifetime fans. So building a lifelong fan in a private medical practice is a combination of exceptional patient care, effective communication, and strategic marketing efforts. So here's a couple tips that we can use to cultivate a loyal patient base. So the first thing we're going to talk about is providing outstanding patient care. We want to focus on delivering high quality medical care and exceptional patient experience. Treat every patient with respect, empathy, and professionalism. Strive to exceed their expectations at every interaction. I've actually got two different scenarios I can talk to you about where I both had fabulous patient care and not so great. So the first would have been my first time visiting an integrative practice. I came in, I was in pain, I was very nervous. I had never gone to a natural clinic before. And I remember having to wait for a little bit, which of course just made the nervousness all that much worse. And I was invited into a room, and immediately the room was calming. It did not give the feel of a clinic. It wasn't sterile. It was warm and inviting. And the practitioner didn't sit down. They actually kind of stood between the chair that I was sitting in and the patient bed and kind of got close to me and started asking me questions. And I want to say it was about an hour that we sat there and we talked, and she really listened and she really asked questions to listen. And you could tell that she was genuinely interested in what I had to say. It was one of the most amazing patient onboarding experiences that I've ever had. So that was, like I said, a really great patient onboarding experience. The next one was a not so great one. We were moving to a new clinic with my doctor of many years. And the nurse was a new nurse, as far as to me. I don't think she was a new nurse, period, but she was new to me. And she spent the entire time that I was in there looking at her computer screen to make sure that she was crossing all of her T's and dotting all of her I's. Now, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with making sure that you're doing your job correctly and going through the procedures, but it would have been great had she turned her chair, turned from the computer screen, and actually looked directly at me. It would have been a much more powerful experience for me, and it would have also lessened some of the anxiety of being in a new environment. The building was brand new, everything was new. So it was a little nerve-wracking and unfortunately made worse by someone that wasn't able to connect with me as the patient. So there are two different examples of good onboarding and not so great onboarding that you can draw from and plan around. All right, so the next thing that we're going to talk about is going to be developing strong patient-doctor relationships. Kind of builds on what we just talked about. So in order to build those strong connections with your patients, you want to take the time to listen to their concerns, just like the first practitioner did. You want to make eye contact with them. You want your shoulders to be pointing towards the patient. People can tell when you're invested in a conversation with them, whether it's a doctor or patient or anybody else, they can tell. Nod your head, yes, no, really, that's interesting, those kinds of things, and then genuinely care. Again, that's something else that people can actually tell whether you genuinely care about them as a patient versus someone that doesn't. And I've had plenty of both types of practitioners. So those are all steps that you can take to build a good provider relationship. Some of the other things are following through as the provider on what you say you're going to do, not providing cookie cutter solutions to patients. I myself am a 20-year chronic pain patient. So I've heard and tried a lot of different remedies for my pain and different ailments. And I can tell when a practitioner is just offering me cookie cutter solutions. I want to be treated like an individual and not like a number. So all those things are super important to developing that relationship between yourself as a practitioner and your patient. So let's talk about enhancing your patient's experience. In order to do that, you want to pay very close attention to the details and every aspect of the patient experience. From the moment that they enter your practice or your clinic until they leave, and have their follow-up appointments. Create a welcoming environment, ensure minimal wait times, and provide amenities that makes the visit more comfortable and pleasant. One of the things that I actually remember that we offered as a natural clinic, we had a cooler full of healthy beverage options. So things like buy water, some carbonated things that had healthy ingredients, different things like that. That was just one of the ways that we enhanced the patient's experience while they were in the clinic. When patients did come into our clinic, it was very frequently for hours, because if you have to have like a high dose vitamin C infusion, usually that goes over, a longer period of time, or maybe they're doing several treatments that day. So we really did what we could to accommodate them with beverages and, different types of things to eat that were healthy, obviously encouraging them to make healthy choices. So that was one of the things that we did to enhance their experience. Another thing that you can do to enhance the experience of your patients is to provide different types of communication. Your older population is going to be probably more comfortable with calling, so you can extend your hours a little bit in the morning, maybe a little bit at night, your phone hours, so that your patients can call in and talk to a nurse, or maybe talk to their doctor, or leave a note for their doctor, that kind of thing. For the younger generation like me, we much prefer to be logging into an app and talking to our doctors and nurses that way. I utilize my MyChart all the time. If I have an incident that I need to make my doctor aware of, I'll just shoot the care team a quick note and let them know what happened. That way they can actually add that to my chart. So there's just a few different ways that you can enhance your patient's experience. Let's talk about fostering some open communication. So in order to provide more of an open communicative environment, you have to give lots of different ways, just like we were talking about, for your patient to communicate via phone, via email, maybe a MyChart app. A lot of the EMR apps nowadays have that communication feature, by mail, if that's what they're comfortable with. Just making sure that your patient has the capacity to communicate with you in a way that's comfortable for them, and each patient is going to be different, is very important. Anytime that they bring up any kind of inquiries or concerns, you want to make sure to get that addressed. And then once you've addressed it, you want to ask them if there's anything else that they need to have addressed. I actually worked for a short time on a complaint hotline where people would call from all over the world and file complaints about their job, their managers, their coworkers, any number of things. And it was actually a very rewarding thing to do. And I remember the last thing that we would always do before we allowed them to hang up is we would ask them if there was anything else that we could do to help them, or anything else that we could address with them. So when you are addressing concerns and issues with patients, make sure that you are following up on those things. All right, let's talk about personalizing patient interactions now. You want to treat each patient as an individual with unique needs, because we are all individuals. You want to try to remember personal details about their life. We actually go in as an entire family to my doctor, especially when my dad goes to the doctor. It's my mom, me and her, and he has all kinds of interesting jokes for us because we do that, but it's just easier because men tend to be not as quite attentive in medical appointments as women are, so we all go together. He remembers things. He asks about us. He shows genuine concern for us. Let's say when my mom goes in, because we all have the same doctor, to see him, he will ask how I'm doing, different things like that. He's built a relationship with us over the years, and that is how you personalize your patient interactions, is you make sure that you're investing in your patients and taking the time to do so. Let's talk about empowering and educating your patients. So you want to take the time to educate each patient on things like injecting their insulin, maybe they're starting a new medication. You want to make sure to go over some of the details with them. Of course, the pharmacist will as well, but it's important to educate more than once, because it takes more than once for us to understand things as humans. You want to provide them with feedback surveys, talk to them, ask them what they like and what they don't like. Make sure to analyze any feedback that you get and look at ways that you can improve your process. You want to continuously strive to enhance the patient experience. To focus on patient satisfaction. You want to regularly measure patient satisfaction through surveys and feedback forms, analyze the results, make any adjustments in your policies and procedures that you need to, listen to your patient-based concerns and questions, and continually strive to make yourself better each and every single day that you are in the practice. One great way to do that is through getting surveys from your patients and analyzing those results, and then talking with your team, your administrative team, on different ways that you can improve your onboarding process. The other thing you want to do is listen to your patient's medical concerns and make sure to address them, and ask them at the end of the appointment if they're satisfied. Maybe you make it a point to have your receptionist ask the patient how their visit was and if there was anything that we could do to make it better next time. Just little things like that will help you to get more and better information and improve upon the process every day. All right, and then the next thing we'll talk about is leveraging technology. So you want to embrace technology. Now, I have worked with many old school nurses, and anytime that there is talk about technology and bringing technology into the clinic or into the nursing home or into any of the care settings, they always kind of balk at it. But if you can introduce it slowly and train them on it, you will have more benefits than you will drawbacks. So they help to, your programs help you to streamline processes and enhancing your patient convenience. Again, things like MyChart and different electronic medical record systems for communication and documentation. You can also offer online appointment setting. I know I talked about this in my last video, but my mom had an issue, needed a doctor's appointment. I was able to make that doctor's appointment at 3:00 a.m. when no one would have been available by phone or anything like that. So we're able to get that done and taken care of. So that's another great way that you can leverage technology for your practice. You also want to emphasize data security. So HIPAA. If you've been in anything medical for longer than 2 days, you're going to hear the word HIPAA. You may even have heard it if you're not in medical care. It's a very big deal. And so you just need to make sure that any of the systems that you're using, any of the softwares, any of the email platforms, anything that is going to store patient protected health information is HIPAA secure. And we'll definitely talk about that in other videos so that we can kind of get a good grasp on what HIPAA is and how to make sure everything is HIPAA compliant. So let's talk a little bit about building a strong online presence. You want to make sure that you develop an engaging website that showcases your expertise, services, and patient testimonials. One disclaimer or one caution that I will give you while we're talking about websites is I would recommend working with someone that's good in marketing to build your website, not necessarily someone that's a great website designer, because there's a difference between a website that looks pretty and a website that actually markets you appropriately. So that's a big thing you want to make sure of when you start talking to website people. I also recommend getting some referrals from the website person's other clients that it is in fact driving clients to the practice. So those are some things to keep in mind as well. You want to utilize social media, get your social media presence out there, use your social media to educate, just like we're doing here on YouTube. Educate, entertain, teach people things, teach your patients, get their attention. There's all kinds of different things that you can do on social media in order to build a fan base or patient base. The other thing you want to do is make sure to reply to your online surveys and reviews promptly. They actually say, especially for negative reviews, you have about 45 minutes to get on there and respond to them. So that might be something that you actually task to your receptionist, since they are sitting there answering phones and dealing with patients. Have them keep an eye out for reviews and teach them a way to positively interact with those patients, even when the reviews are negative. That's actually one of the things that I pay attention to when I'm looking at reviews, is how well the company then responds in a positive way. All right, and then the other thing you want to do is to maintain regular communication with your patients and your soon-to-be lifelong fans. So even, let's say if you only see them once a year, maybe they're a fairly healthy patient and they only come in for yearly physicals, you can always send them maybe a little flyer on the email and snail mail, physical mail, just to let them know that you're offering maybe heart screenings in March, or maybe you're opening up your practice to new patients and you want to let your existing patients know so that they can refer you, different things like that. Find ways through social media, through snail mail, through email to stay in continual contact with your patients. Maybe it's an educational email or newsletter that you send out once a month. All those little things contributes to keeping your patients engaged and keeping them interested in coming back to you as their provider. So building a lifelong fans requires consistent effort and a patient-centered approach. By providing exceptional care, fostering meaningful relationships, and embracing patient satisfaction, you can create a thriving medical practice with loyal patients who become advocates for your services. Don't forget to get out there, document it, delegate it, and get it done today.